I used to do lots of things.
I used to do things and I'd say things and Jesus I was evil. Take things and break things and Jesus I was evil. I never shook babies.
All right.
All right.
Here we are. Here we are in
139.
one.
Is that right?
No, 138.
I was over this time.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh. All right. Well, that's our show.
Yeah.
All right. We had a few topics for today.
Yeah.
Kind of overlapping-ish topics, and actually kind of ironic in a way. With that, we'll talk about it, and then we're gonna do something kind of typical with Bollywood shit. Like it feels like a throwback almost.
Yeah.
All right. What do you want to start with? Colombia?
Yeah.
I like when podcasts touch on stuff that they covered before, because then it doesn't always feel like everything it like makes things feel a little bit more important, because then it's like, well, we were on this for a week and now we moved on and they never talk about it again. I like when podcasts kind of go back and revisit things, and it does feel like just the news cycle has been insane since kind of social media has taken over and really Trump, like everything does go fast, but it's felt exponentially fast these past few weeks. I mean, it feels like that debate, the Biden debate, was months and months ago, and it was less than 2 months ago. And
it feels like a year ago, man.
It feels so long ago. I know. And so we're going even before that to the campus protests. So these were like the spring, right around graduation, because there were lots of issues with graduation. So it's probably like early to mid-May, maybe even late April, if I remember correctly.
Right.
They were a shit show and caused a lot of problems for different people. Now it's like, well, what happened with those? This kind of feels forgotten. So not that this is like a complete retelling of what happened, or even like usual, a lot of those students just had everything dropped and they'll probably have no consequences. I think some have some very serious consequences, and that's good. But this is more about from professors and since then 3 Columbia deans. Now, I thought colleges had like one dean. I didn't know that there were several deans at schools.
I thought it was based on like the department, right? So it's like you had like the sciences dean and then like the arts dean.
It feels like this is part of administrative bloat. I feel like maybe at some schools, like big state schools, but Columbia is a private Ivy League school,
right?
And there are several deans. Like my school I went to is very small, but I believe we only had the dean. There's the president and there's the dean, and they have different functions. And at least that's what I remember. But anyway,
you might be right, because the dean always seemed, to me at least, like this mystical figure of like, oh, like we're gonna have to report this to the dean sort of thing. But like I didn't know who the dean was. Maybe I just didn't pay attention.
The dean to me felt like someone who by the way, I feel like I can hear myself in your. Am I like plugged in or something?
I hear you just fine. I don't hear any echo from either of us.
Let me see. I can't tell by just doing this. Anyway, I can hear myself. What the hell is that? All right, it's not like an echo, but maybe I'm just hearing myself in yours. But we'll move on. I feel like the dean actually does, like, they're the ones who do the day-to-day stuff for the students, and the president's much more of a figurehead and does more like fundraising shit. And I might be totally off there, but that's always how I looked at it.
That sounds about right. But it's just funny because maybe just because the university I went to a small private Jesuit university. So I don't know. I only saw the president at functions. I never knew exactly when they were.
How many students did your school have?
Oh, I don't know. I know. Well, as a music major, we only had 90 students, like on average, like for across all 4 years.
Yeah.
So we had,
but the whole school, what was it? Like music's one major.
Yeah, I don't know. It was really small. I mean, you could walk across the campus in like 10 minutes. Like it was really small.
That was like my school. My school was like 1,800, I think. At its max, maybe even less than that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 3 of them at Columbia got the axe. I mean, it says they resigned, but they had been suspended indefinitely since the spring for text exchange, where they're kind of making fun of students who were having like very real. This is why I care about this. Is because the irony of it is so tasty that it's like these are the people who would, if there's like a Douglas Murray on campus or a Ben Shapiro or something, they would talk about like violence and harm and safe spaces. And then meanwhile, these Jewish students are like not being allowed to go certain places, being targeted, being attacked in some cases. I'm not saying that some of it wasn't exaggerated. I'm sure it was, but there were very real, like horrific, disgusting things said at these students' posters about, like, we remember this. I don't remember the exact terms, but like basically praising not just, it's one thing to say you're standing with civilians who are, victims of bombing campaigns. Like, no, they were praising Hamas terrorists.
Right, exactly.
And a lot, like, the joke has been said that like queers for Palestine's hilarious. But honestly, it's also like queers for Hamas.
Yeah.
And these deans who are, it's not even like these are, TAs or something, or even professors. These are deans who these parents entrust their, kids to go to these schools and to have direction and safety at a minimum.
Yep.
And they're like mocking them in these text exchanges, calling them privileged and things like that. It's just crazy to me. It feels like it's the bizarro world. And I feel like kind of Barry Weiss during that, where she kind of had that monologue where it's like, words aren't violence, violence is violence. Right. And, it's the same people who will use those terms, but then when there is actually like pandemonium on campus, they'll make fun of victims of it, victims of,
like the harassment and stuff.
Yeah, the harassment and that sort of stuff. And you do have to strike a balance between protest and safety, but also these were like fucking students who should be going to class and shit. They were like missing things and then expected to graduate. And I think I read this line in the Spectator, but I would say the same thing. It's like everyone wants to be David Thoreau but not do the prison time. Like they want, it's like they want food delivered to them. The people who did the civil rights marches, like they went in knowing they're going to get cracked in the head. They're going to get spit on. They're going to get thrown, and they did it anyway. And these people want the accolades of protesting, which I think a lot of that's bullshit because they're supporting terrorists. Some of them, many are not, but some are. But not like with any of the consequences of like, no, you're not graduating because you didn't complete your classes. You skipped exams. Right. And that's why we always say that they want to treat activism like a minor. Some case maybe a major. So I just want to touch on that because it was something I feel like we covered at least one episode, if not two. Yeah. And it's just really sick to me that you have these people who are, probably have jobs that they don't need. Like I would love to see, I know I'm rambling here for a second, but I would love to see, how Elon kind of went in and just like,
I was just about to bring that up. He cut down like 10% or whatever.
Like gutted Twitter. And then for a little bit, there was kind of like a period where I was like, fuck, was that the right decision? But like, it seems fine now. Like it's running the same.
And it has more features. It has more options now.
Yeah, it has more features. If anything, what my complaints about it are that it's like, I don't like the algorithm. I wish it was more of, I want to see what my friends are tweeting. I want to see that kind of stuff. And Twitter's more about followers and stuff than friends, but that's what I want to see. Instagram too. Like, but that's not the issue that they, that critics were having of it. I'd love to see someone go in and do the same thing with like a university. Like, do we need all of these coordinators and administrators No, we don't. And to like show that they're not only getting fat paychecks and very cushy jobs, but then they're mocking students with like legitimate fears when at the same time, these people would be, I'm sure that they had very different responses to Black Lives Matter concerns, or when Trump was elected, I'm sure there was talk about safe spaces and, fighting extremism and all that shit. And meanwhile, it's literally on campus and you're mocking the victims. And I just want to touch on that because it really just makes my blood boil.
No, absolutely, man. And the insane amount of administrators on college campuses these days, it's bad in so many ways. One, it's coddling students. It results in more coddling of students because these administrators push for unnecessary programs and initiatives like safe spaces and all that sort of thing, right? And anything to kind of justify their existence, like, oh, hey, I led this, this coalition to rename the building. And it's like, yeah, you made $70,000 a year to do that, and so so there's that. So like the sort of coddling aspect.
I think they make way more than $70,000 a year, by the way.
Oh yeah, I just pull that out. I mean, that's not that, yeah. But and then on the other hand, which is what we're seeing now on the end of the spectrum, like now they're actively mocking students who are being harassed. So this is just bad all around. So I just got them.
Yeah, some specifics, and then we'll move on from this.
Yeah.
Where like they were doing like throw up, vomit face emojis in the group chat. They were calling the students privileged. They were mocking them for needing a place to quote unquote huddle to avoid anti-Semitism and harassment on campus. They called them, I said privileged. So
from what I understand, at least from this article in the Hill.
Yeah.
The messages occurred in a group chat during an event on campus called the Jewish Life on Campus, Past, Present, and Future, and they were discovered by the Washington Free Beacon. So in one of the messages, Patashnik, who's one of the people in the group chat, said a panelist at the event was, quote unquote, taking full advantage of this moment, saying it was huge potential for them. So basically saying that the people at this Jewish themed event were taking advantage of the upheaval on college campuses. Like that's
right. Right.
Oh
my God, it costs $90,000 a year to go there. That's insane.
That covers like half the salary of one administrator.
Oh my God, $90,000 to go. Like send your daughter there. She comes back with her hair dyed blue and calls you racist, and then it's like, all right, now pay my next semester.
Yeah,
Jesus. I grew up with a guy who with his brother, but he went to Columbia, and he was actually, to his credit, I remember he wasn't like viral, but he was known as being like a conservative voice on Columbia's campus. I think he was Jewish too. And he was kind of calling out all this crazy shit really right when it was starting.
It's like early 2010s.
Like early 2010s, because that's when I was in college, and he was a year or two older than I was. And what he was saying, it was like, I wasn't seeing that at my school, but again, you would see that first at Columbia and at Berkeley and these schools. Like that's where the shit happens first. And now it's pretty funny to look back that, that's over a decade ago.
Yeah.
And now they're having, pro-Hamas protests on these campuses. And I know people are going to say, well, some of them were outside agitators, some of them were, not on the campus there with it's all fucking connected, and no one's denouncing that shit.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it was like, there were some people who were trying to set, but it all got glommed together. And, you have to, like, you would do the same thing if you see a Trump rally and there's like one Confederate flag, these people will jump on and call everyone there racist, even the black people and the Latinos and the Asian, like God forbid. Or when someone does something which is so dumb, when some of these right wingers will like use Hitler's like Nazi insignias and stuff to be like, well, they're being like Nazis. Like, no, you idiot. They're going to use this against you. We understand, like they did out at the Canadian truckers. It's like, it doesn't matter. Don't be seen with a fucking swastika. It's not going to go well. We understand the message you're trying to take, but it never goes well. Just figure out a new fucking, and also stop comparing everyone Hitler and the Nazis, because even my name here, UK refugee, is like, I think we should take refugees from the UK because they were doing some crazy shit over there. The government about free speech and things that to us are like, you can do that. Like they're arresting people for retweets and stuff. Like,
yeah, that's insane.
Shit. Yeah, it's like I just want to wrap myself in the First Amendment when I see that stuff.
I know, yeah. I'm friends with someone from England, and
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, yeah, he's a cool guy.
I love the British.
He just became a U.S. citizen like a year ago, I think.
Oh, that rules.
So I like to kind of shove it in his face, like mostly just kind of joking, but like there is like, whenever I'll talk about how great America is, it's like, yeah, but no universal health care. And like, yeah, well, we can say what we want here. We can make whatever joke we want on Facebook without fear of getting arrested. So
yeah, exactly.
I went to he and his family. They invited me to his parents' house. They have a nice house up in the hills and with a nice pool for 4th of July. And so so it was actually like the UK election, or the England's election was taking place on July 4th. So they're most wanted.
Be allowed.
I know. I was gonna say like fucking sore losers.
Bullshit.
I know exactly.
Our day.
I know. But I was like, hey, so because this is your parents' home, I just want to let you know I'm being really polite by not dumping a bunch of tea into your guys' pool. So
yeah, that's good. No, I do love the British, and I love a lot of British culture. But that is insane. That
I know.
Like what's his name? The guy he was Scottish, and they were even crazier.
Dankula. Count Dankula.
Count Dankula.
Forgetting the Nazi pug.
Yeah, the Nazi pug. And he was doing it to prove a point that it was like his girlfriend or whatever was saying that.
And wasn't he like a socialist? Like, wasn't he a pretty far left guy? But he was basically pushed to the right, I think, from what I understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, definitely now. I don't know if he was a socialist or I think he was just kind of like a shit poster.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was politically engaged, but now, I mean, he's commented on this. Like he I think he retweeted Elon or something.
Yeah.
Which was like, something about the pug, like you should see what I did with my dog. It's very funny. But I think Scotland, I think they voted all those guys out. I know that really crazy one. The one who's like a Pakistani or Indian background, I forget which. He was talking about like leaving. And I was like, dude, good. Like, get the fuck out. Like, you're in one of the best countries to live in the world.
Yeah.
In terms of no matter how you grade it, in like many ways. There are some bad things with Scotland. Sure. So okay, fine, go live in Pakistan then. See how that goes for you. Like, you think the issues in Scotland are bad because you lost power. You were the whatever he was like a huge official. Yeah, the head of the government, and because you lost power, you want to move. Like, be my guest.
Fuck these jeans.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure they got what is it, like golden parachutes or whatever, or I'm sure they got nice.
Maybe probably just to not fight, but I hate that. I think that really sucks.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. So this is more of a dumb, frivolous thing, but it just cracks me up anyway. So actress Jenna Ortega, who is sort of like Tim Burton's new muse, because he was in the Wednesday Netflix show, and now she is in his upcoming Beetlejuice. So she was interviewed recently. So this is in a Vanity Fair. So I got a quote from her here. She's where all the actor has to do in those situations. Let me go. This is from Variety. Jenna Ortega was asked in a Vanity Fair video interview about one of the best pieces of advice she's ever received from a mentor. Her answer traced back to her cello instructor on Wednesday. The advice pertains to Ortega's own doubts and insecurities whenever she's tackling a new challenge. All the actor has to do in those situations is think like the average white man. The show that I do right now, I have to play the cello, and I don't play the cello, Ortega said. I want it to look real so that cellists don't look at it and call me mean names. My teacher told me that as long as I look confident in my movements and I was strong and stoic and, fully embodied the character, that it should be fine. She told me that I just needed to approach everything I do in life with the confidence of the average white man. That changed my life. That made me feel better. It made you feel better to think of yourself as a white man? Jenna Ortega, I think she's like half Mexican and half something else, or she's Latina, but it's like, I don't think you know what you're saying there, man. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. It sucks because I think she's really hot.
Yeah.
And now I have to like hate watch it. I was like, fuck, you're hot, but still watch. This is stupid. This is what I was saying. Kind of feels like a throwback. Like this feels very like 2017.
Yeah. And I feel bad for her because she's pretty young. She's 21, so she's impressionable. But it's like, so much from like the intersectional crowd, they go on and on about stop treating white men like they're the default. It's like, but based on this, it's like you're treating it like it's the default. Like, I feel odd, I feel weird and sort of outside. Oh, I know. I'll pretend like I'm the default, and then that'll make me feel better. It always cracks me up whenever like they go on and on about like how bad white supremacy is. But it's like, yeah, you're making white men out to be like the gold standard here, and you're trying to live up to that, and you're the one saying it, not
the whole like the confidence of line is like, what are you supposed to do? Like be meek and timid?
Right.
Like I don't know. Yeah, there's arrogance, and no one should be arrogant. And you're gonna tell me that like white men are the only people who's arrogant? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and she goes on here. I was nervous even to do this interview because I ramble like crazy. Like, what am I going to talk about this whole time? Then I just remembered, how would an average white man do this? And he probably would have shown up with mismatched socks. That's not a white man thing. That's just confidence. Like when someone can lean into their uniqueness and just own it. It doesn't matter what your race or your gender or anything like that is. It's like when you lean into it and you own that shit, it's like that's cool. Like anybody can do it.
Yeah, this is the kind of shit that I hope like this is why Trump wins elections. It's like this kind of shit. Like I hope they blast this stuff. It's like, does Jenna Ortega know an average white guy? Like I would like to know what her belief. I bet her thought of the average white guy is like the social climber, LA or like coastal white guy who drives a BMW and is like pretends to know everyone, like that kind of shit. And I hate that archetype too, and
sure,
it definitely exists. But like if you think that's the average white guy, like I feel like people who, I think she's from California, I'm sure she lives in Hollywood, like it's somewhere in LA. And it's like I just bet you don't know what an average white guy even is.
Right.
And yeah, it's whatever. It's fucking stupid. And I would love to see this, like, and it feels weird because this does feel very old. But I'd like to see if there like any blowback to this. Like, no, there won't be. It doesn't really matter.
I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's just like people just in general just don't really care. Like, it doesn't seem like she's getting much like praise for saying this. It just seems so. Hopefully this is something where it's like, yeah, we kind of moved on. Like kind of like rape culture. Remember when we were bitching about that 5 years ago? Yeah, we kind of gave up on that.
yeah, because it's never like, it's not like anyone's gonna denounce her. Not even that you should. Like, it's a stupid. If you want to go through life thinking that, fine. Like that's fucking dumb. But it's more of like, I don't think those comments get the claps and the clapter anymore. It's like, dude, what you're doing, like white guy jokes. That's very like Tumblr 2012.
Yeah. But so anyway, that's an update on Jenna Ortega
on Hollywood Talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's like, if you stretch that out, she's gonna turn into who's that other one? Ziegler.
Oh,
Rachel Ziegler, who I thought this was when I first read it. I'm like, oh no, not Jenna Ortega. Rachel Ziegler, who's just like saying this kind of shit. You know who takes their kids to see Disney movies? Average white guys.
Yeah.
Like, who spends a lot of money on the shit that makes you rich is like average white guys to make their daughters happy.
Yeah.
Or make their girlfriends happy. Like, fine, alienate them. Like, it's not going to work. Like, people do actually, when given the choice, like a lot of people will just stop going. Like, oh, wait, who's in this? Oh, it's terrible. We'll just go see something else.
Yeah.
Like we'll rent something else or go to the movies and see something else. Like what's it? Rachel Ziegler, her
Snow White.
Yeah, her whole PR tanked, and she was saying really dumb shit because she thought that she was immune because she was so used to saying stuff like, "Oh, maybe we'll cut the prince." Like he's not. It's like what? Like first of all, it's a colleague.
Yeah,
and like it's not about the typical. She's like, yes, this isn't like the typical princess story. It's like, it's fucking Snow White. Like it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like there's how many movies are there, but like the strong female, in fact, that's having like a backlash now because it's so boring, it's so done.
Yeah,
and she's going on because there were no repercussions. She's the one that hilariously was like in the picket line, not in a way with like solidarity where it's like, I know I make a ton of money, but I'm picketing anyway for my colleagues, for all the people in this industry, all the actors who are, starving actors, working all of that.
Yeah.
But no, she wasn't there for that. She said some lines like, if I have to, spend 8 hours a day in a princess dress, I deserve to be compensated for it. It's like, you pay millions of dollars.
Yeah.
No, the people aren't picketing for people like you. Like, you're not on strike for people like you. And just shows a lack of awareness. That I think some of these kids, and you're right, Jenna Ortega is only 22. If I was 22 in major movies and shows and multimillionaire, I'd probably say dumb shit also. I say dumb shit on this podcast.
No, you and I, everything we say is perfect.
But it is sort of like, all right, like let's see how far that goes. Anyway, side note, did you see the reviews for Borderland?
Yeah, is it had like a 0%?
I think I saw like a 3%.
Yeah. Oh, it went up. Okay, that's good. Somebody liked it out there.
Borderlands, it had it. Yeah, let me see real quick.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is it back to 0?
Did they recant the review?
Oh, it's at 7. It's at 7%. It's actually 53 for the audience, so it's not good, but it's not as bad for the audience. But people are calling this like kind of I saw comments like this is a DEI movie. It's like just every single type of person is in it, like checking boxes, changing character. I don't know because I never played Borderlands.
Yeah, I barely know what that is.
It's a video game. It's pretty popular. But anyway, I'm sure that there will be some discourse about it because it's a major flop.
Yeah, and I'm curious who will be blamed for that. Like, will it be
average
toxic? Yeah, exactly. Or toxic fandom.
I always love the ones that are like step aside, men. Like this such and such isn't for you. And then there's right next to the same publication, like 2 weeks later, it's like why men aren't seeing such and such. It's like, well,
yeah. Do you remember the I think it was Greta Gerwig's Little Women adaptation from a few years back? Yeah, that was the exact same. No, well, there was a huge backlash because several articles were written about how men were not going to see a movie called Little Women.
Oh wait, Joe, have you seen Women Talking yet?
No, I haven't.
All right, well, soon we got to watch Women Talking, and why somehow that movie didn't get a bunch of men to go see it.
I'll gladly watch a movie called Women Shutting Up. But I will not see. It cracked me up. I actually wrote an article about it. That was actually one of the things that kind of led to the creation of the Reckless Muse, because that was like the second article I wrote, kind of commenting on the backlash against
women.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember it for that, but tell me.
Yeah, well, actually, this will be a fun little trip down stupid memory lane. Little Women.
I remember it more for like, was it Ghostbusters, the all-female remake, or
there was that one? Yeah,
there's some others that they literally have it side by side, and it just shows the lack of awareness. I don't know if it's the same author, but it's definitely the same publication. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't remember it being specifically for Little Women, but so I wrote this article. It was in 2020, and it was called "If You Want Us Men to Watch Little Women, Stop Lecturing Us About It." And it started. There was a tweet. She might have deleted it. Yeah, she deleted it. But she said that I think she was a film critic, a female film critic, and she said that like 3 of her male friends refused to see Little Women, and so she I think she called it like an epidemic, or like it was like a serious problem that men were not seeing. It's like 3 of your guy friends refused to see a movie called Little Women, and you're making it out to be like a huge problem. So I wrote a large article on it, and it got pretty decent response. So that kind of actually led to, hey, I can make a living criticizing this crap. So still hasn't happened, but it did kind of lead to the creation of
and here we are.
Yeah, I also remember. I think it was A Wrinkle in Time, which had a pretty diverse cast, and I think it was Brie Larson was talking about how I don't want to hear how she wanted to see more reviews from people of color and from women, not from men. And so it's sort of like I don't want to hear a straight white guy's opinion on A Wrinkle in Time or something like that. It's like,
okay,
cool, yeah.
Well, you're gonna hear it anyway.
I know exactly.
I did not see that. I did see Little Women because it is like a classic story. I can't remember how much I liked it, but I'll watch pretty much anything with Timothée Chalamet and Florence Pugh. Big fan.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that in Hollywood stupidity for this week. So
yes,
cool. So what's the bigger thing that we're going to talk about, Benjamin?
I guess we're going to talk about an article in the Spectator.
They do good work there. Follow them.
Yeah, big fan. One of my go-tos.
Yeah.
This is from July 18th, so a few weeks ago. Coercion and Coddling take campus. A Disney version of campus is easier to sell. All flowers, no bees. And this is from Morgan Marietta. It's kind of it's kind of your standard article about how much college has changed and how it used to be a place for ideas to clash and be dissected, and for kind of the typical like liberalism, right? Like the broadest kind of sense of the term. And I'll read some of it here. And this article really stems from the October 7th attacks, and how that was a huge eye opener for a lot of people, that maybe not people like you and me, Joe, but for a lot of people who consider themselves on the left and were pretty friendly with a lot of these organizations and ideas. I think a lot of Jewish liberals were like had the rug pulled out from under them. They're like, well, we supported your your marches, your movements. We have been with civil rights since the beginning. And now, when we need you, not only are you, silent, you're actually, you oppose us and you support people who want us like destroyed. So, I do have some sympathy for that. I'm kind of like, now it's affected you. Okay. The writing has been on the wall for a while. So this article talks about how, so basically there was a talk on October 18th, and I'll start there. So it goes, so on October 18th, I held a faculty student discussion with a Middle East expert. I opened the event by stating some facts: that a terrorist organization committed to the death of Jews had attacked Israel, raping and murdering many young people at a peace concert and seizing hostages. I said that these events raised deep moral questions about what should be done in response regarding the destruction of Hamas and the fate of thousands of non-combatant Palestinians. Discuss. Next paragraph. The discussion did not go well. In a lecture hall with around 200 stunned students and faculty, there was shouting, cursing, and other bad behavior designed to squelch debate. Campus police were present, and the only thing bruised were faculty egos and a sense of decorum. The dean of liberal arts surveyed the reports of chaos and concluded that the problem wasn't intimidation tactics, but ideas themselves. She banned all political science faculty from speaking in public without her prior written permission. Sounds very healthy, by the way. On any topic. I resigned rather than agree to this blatant violation of the purpose of university as well as the First Amendment of the Constitution. In my view, faculty should speak. An administrator should enforce the code of conduct to allow for civil discussion. Cancellation and enforced silence are cowardly. So right there, I don't know if this writer is Jewish, but I think a lot of people expected, if anything, like denouncing terrorism.
Right.
Instead, we saw a lot of people, and honestly, myself too. Like, there definitely was a contingent of left wingers that I still respected and listened to regularly, and probably still share some views on certain issues.
Sure.
And I probably might agree with them the most. but October 7th really opened my eyes to them, and I determined that they're just like bad people.
Yeah.
It was really sick to me to see, these were the kinds of people who like at Harvard, where they're right away, it was ceasefire and this is actually Israel's fault. And they had posters of symbolism from the attack, like the paragliders or hang gliders or whatever it is. And just stuff that was like, you're so deluded, you're so warped from a certain ideology that I don't want to be associated with you anymore.
Right.
I had even supported the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, on some of their stances, especially with Ukraine. I think I have a lot of overlap there, but I completely axed my association with them. I think, and I stopped following people like Brianna Joy Gray.
Yeah, seriously.
She was just like, it was shocking how horrible her response was. Chapo Trap House, there are people on the left that have more nuanced takes.
Sure. Yeah.
I think like a Glenn Greenwald does a better job. But a lot of these people I just found really despicable. And it was kind of like the last vestiges of my association with the left wing. And I realized that for the most part, most of my views, not all of them, but most of them are just being taken up by what's called like the populist right. That really just is where I find myself so much more. And as an ideology, it is kind of closest to what I believe for a lot of things. Not everything, of course.
Sure.
But a lot of things. And that's just what I'm seeing a lot more. So I'll continue. Do you want to say anything about that, or should I continue? It's not a very long article.
Yeah. No, go on, continue there.
Okay. So all the way up to the president, the university administration backed the dean's approach. See, hold on right there. So it's like the dean, because now we're like learning what these people do. Like the dean made that rule and the president just backed it. So it's like, it seems like the dean actually has more power of day-to-day stuff, like what faculty and students have to do. Right. Okay. But why do the students have to be kept safe from ideas or from seeing other students behaving badly and potentially concluding that they are wrong? University life used to be more vibrant and civil simultaneously. When I was an undergraduate, I saw 3 talks on campus that influenced me deeply. One was by Angela Davis on the left. Another was by Bill Buckley on the right. The third was Meyer Kahane, who predicted his own assassination during the talk. I'm going to skip some of that, but he was assassinated. I don't know who that person is. I know the other two.
Yeah.
I think Angela Davis is kind of a piece of shit, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But anyway, is she the one who's like hiding in Cuba? Or is she dead?
Maybe. She was a pretty radical person, right? She was not.
Yeah, very radical. Yeah. The problem is that none of those talks would be allowed now at any of the places where I previously taught. Administrators limit the presence of disturbing voices from either left or right. Students gain little practice in the skills of considering and challenging them. Formulating probing questions, reconsidering orthodoxy, and thinking out loud all require practice. The forces colluding to prevent this kind of practice include 2 ideologies and one form of college consumerism in which, quote unquote, the customer is always right. So here we're kind of getting to like the crux of this article, how college is being sold as a consumer good instead of it used to be, it seems like more for a privileged class, but more of a coming of age type thing, experience to get away from home, to be secluded, to be able to study and not have to worry about tending to the farm or the bakery or whatever it was. But I mean, a lot of these people at college was really limited to the privileged few. But even still, when it became more democratic, probably when this person was in college, like it was, and she may be kind of forgetting that like there actually used to be speech codes on campus. Like that was the whole thing that had to be fought by people like Fire. I believe that's how they even got their start, was fighting the speech codes of like the 90s.
Right.
But so she might be glossing over that, and maybe she has rose tinted glasses on that. But I think she's right in the sense like there wasn't this, or at least at the vast majority of schools, there wasn't this sort of doomerism where people are the enemy, where other talkers other speakers who you might not agree with cause violence. I remember hearing not that long ago, like when I was a regular Bill Maher watcher. And I like Bill Maher on some things. He's interesting enough. He kind of fills a weird niche. He's kind of like the boomer, straight liberal who has a lot of doesn't like a lot of this progressive shit. But anyway, and he was talking with a guy from UC Berkeley who was a Republican, and Bill was like surprised. And he was like, Bill, like UC Berkeley has the largest young Republicans in the state, like in California.
Huh.
Like people don't realize this. I read an article. California has the most Republicans in the country.
Yeah, we just have such a big population that
so
it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's just such a big population, but they have the most Republicans in the country. So again, obviously the most Democrats too, but but it was like, I would like to know if that's still the case of UC Berkeley, because this was like probably 2015, 16, 17. I wonder if they do still have a large young Republicans on their campus.
Yeah, maybe they had to go underground.
Yeah, because it just seems like now it'd be like, well, they're the enemy. They can't exist. They can't live in civil society. We have to make life difficult for them instead of just being like, well, we disagree politically. I honestly don't know.
I would not be surprised if they have largely dissipated since then, because I remember seeing right around it was definitely before the pandemic, but I remember somebody tweeting about how SoCal is going to be like the new hotbed of sort of like the new right. You keep in mind, the Daily Wire was based out of LA. And then, San Diego. Yeah, it was. I think it's based in Nashville, I think. And I think Ben Shapiro's in Florida.
Ben Shapiro's from
he's from LA,
but specifically he's from where's all the studios? Or
Burbank?
Yes, he's from Burbank.
Yeah. So the Daily Wire was based out of LA. I think they're based in Nashville now, mostly.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's true. I would like to see that. But I always say, you always tell me to move, you always joke, why don't you move out here? Yeah, I'm Huntington Beach, California. That's where I'm moving. I'm Newport Beach.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm LA, California.
San Diego used to be pretty, and it's something more conservative comparatively, but I don't know how much. But there's a strong military presence in that area, so I think it just kind of moderates some of the craziness of the left.
They did do some crazy shit though in San Diego recently, with school stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But you're right. Obviously, LA, I think is more diverse. And I think where you see Latinos becoming more right wing. LA, San Francisco is all white people and Asians, and while some Asians are becoming more right, it seems like that's more of a bastion for white progressivism, where LA is more diverse. So you might actually get that. I'd like to see it. If you remember, 2020, Trump, LA swung to the right. It didn't go right, of course, but all major cities really, or a lot of major cities did. Philly, New York, LA. I'd like to see if it even becomes like a third, or maybe 60-40 would be huge if LA became that. I don't see it happening necessarily, but that would be cool. I think Orange County is going to go back to being red. That's what I've heard. I'd like to see that for this election. I think it went kind of reddish in the midterms, and I would like to see that become I don't think LA will ever go red, but you don't have to go red for it to be a hotbed of the new right. I don't know. I would like to see that. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, so, but so to kind of getting back to the original point about UC Berkeley and so it's some conservatives, some prominent conservative figures were really banking on SoCal going right, and but at the same time the pandemic happened, so I think that really when they saw how crazy the Democrats were pushing. So I don't know. Maybe SoCal was kind of on track to become more right, and the pandemic kind of upended that. Maybe we're gonna start swinging back in that direction. So we'll see.
Yeah, I want to see. Let's see real quick.
Yeah.
What was this isn't great radio, I know, but now it's California. All right, well we'll move on from this, but I would like to see what LA went in.
I wonder though. So this just came out today. This story in LA. Fraud investigation launched into homeless service provider for LA's Inside Safe program.
Oh yeah.
So there's like a ton of money that I guess is just kind of just been misallocated. And Karen Bass, our mayor, was the one who founded this organization. So we'll see. I hope this brings her down, but I don't know. It's too early to say. But
yeah, like you guys just like you could have. I would say it would if they elected what was his name, the guy who ran against her.
Rick Caruso.
Yeah, Caruso. Like that, I could see LA if it was really heading that way. They'd elect like moderate Democrats who used to be Republicans.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They elected. You guys elected Karen Bass.
I know.
Like, I don't like so that again. I want it to be like I think it would benefit everyone. If LA did become more moderate, I'm not saying I'd want to be like super right wing either, but if it became more moderate, probably be better for everyone. But you guys like to fucking Karen Bass, so I don't know.
I know, but we just can't seem to fucking learn. We just keep voting for like the more radicals rather than like the reason.
It, man.
And just like you could still be reasonable and moderate and still be considered on the left. Like you don't have to be like going, but you know, if you know how to use a calculator. Like all of a sudden, like you're more qualified to manage hundreds of millions of dollars. Because they keep blowing hundreds of millions of dollars on programs that go nowhere.
And another thing, you guys reelected Gascon like during the election, like during the time that was all about like high crime, a backlash against the progressive shit. You guys reelected the same fucking people. I think maybe you were getting to this. 2020 happened, and I think a lot of those people left.
Yeah.
Right. I think they went to Nevada, and that's why Nevada's red now. Will likely be red, where Nevada was blue for 20 years.
Yeah.
They elected a Republican governor. I know, but we're talking like general election stuff. Nevada hasn't gone red, I think, since 2004. So they went to Arizona, they went to Florida, that kind of stuff. And they left you behind to defend for yourself.
Yeah. Oh man.
I can't find the shit right here, but anyway, let's move on. Let me get back to this. Okay, so all right, so here the first ideology is the liberalism that has been dominant on campuses for many decades. Mainstream left of center liberals believe that equality is a core value, trust that collective action through government leads to good outcomes, and hope that progressive improvement of society is possible. When comparing virtues, they believe that caring for others and avoiding harm, that care/harm value that Jonathan Haidt discusses in The Righteous Mind, is deeply important. The second ideology can be mistaken for an extreme version of the first, but actually promotes different values and perceptions. The core of this new ideology insists that identity is at the heart of all politics. Equality insists on treating all individuals the same way, regardless of race or creed, recognizing them as individuals rather than avatars of their identity group. Equity, by contrast, argues that all institutions, including universities, should violate the principle of equal treatment to make sure that groups do not experience different outcomes. So, when influential decisions are made about admitting students, hiring faculty, or even designing curriculum, universities, as well as corporations and governments, must make choices that confer a group advantage. After first placing each person in the proper group box, identity comes first, equity follows, and equal treatment is discarded.
Yep.
Then she kind of goes on to, including like the wokeism shit, how it's a liberal, yada yada, right? We've all discussed this for 3 fucking years now.
Yeah.
So basically, and then she's saying how this is are harnessed into the same wagon of consumerism. Both of these two ideologies I just detailed. Not all members of the university hierarchy are motivated by liberalism or by wokeism. Some are just selling a product and want a calm market. Perhaps it is something of an overstatement that university life has become a multi-year consumer good, but it plays a large part in the prevailing safetyism. A Disney version of campus is easier to sell. All flowers, no bees. That was kind of her tagline at the beginning. So I think we can, we don't have to wrap this up unless you want to. I think we get the gist of it there. Actually, let me read this part, because this is where she says the line I brought before. So I skipped a couple paragraphs. Current colleges offer a new product more advanced than soap. Someone talked about how there's a famous line that they sell college like soap, promoting features they think students want. So I'm going to skip over that. So that's where that comes from. They offer the experience of never having to get one's hands dirty in the first place. There's no real suffering from civil disobedience. The first demand of protesters is amnesty for their misdeeds. They want to be Thoreau without the jail time. In fact, sidebar, I was doing some research on Thoreau, who I've always had an interest in. For the book I'm writing, just as one of the kind of heroes of a character in one of my books. And the book takes place right kind of when civil disobedience comes out, actually, like the late 1840s. And Thoreau was pissed that I think his aunt bailed him out of jail. He was actually angry about it. He's like, no, if I don't suffer for this, it's not worth anything. Like I need to, like, it seems kind of weird, but it's like, I need people to see that I'm being punished for doing something that I think is just. And if you just bail me out, the whole point of it is moot. And I found that very interesting, because it's the exact opposite of what kids are. I don't like to call them kids. They're almost all
call them kids. That's fine. Yeah,
little children. What these little children are doing. So unlike participants in the civil rights movement of the 1960s, no one is signing up to have their head cracked on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They demand snacks. They complain, and this is a true story, that, quote, finger painting for Palestine is canceled. These people are animals. This was overheard verbatim at a spring anti-Israel protest on the campus of the University of Texas. Universities may market themselves like soap, but the only residue of reality that is left to remove are the smears of finger paint. And then there's one more paragraph, and it wraps up. So yeah, that kind of gets to the whole point of what I was saying. It's like, even if, I can respect someone who, let's say, okay, so this is an extreme example, and we do hate them, and I would be okay if they got the death penalty, but it's the people who like attack art, right? For like the climate activate now, or whatever it is, climate extinction. And like I think the Netherlands, the judge there sentenced them like really harshly.
Good. Fuck yeah.
Yes, good. But I don't know if they're like, I doubt that. I feel like they knew what they were getting into. Yeah. Maybe, where as much as, we were just criticizing the UK, and I actually don't. I'm much more of a law and order person, but I think I saw it was in one of these European countries where she sounded like an American, at least. She like stood in front of a police truck with a blowhorn, like yelling something about Palestine. And they got out, and she was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't." And they're like, "Nope. Like, you stopped us from getting where we need to go. Like, you're right. Like, why can't we do that here?" Yeah. Like there are so many opportunities to protest. There are spaces designated for protest throughout the country, like sidewalks and public squares and like tons of places. But you don't get the right to just block people from getting where they need to go. Yeah. And in cars, especially like police officers. And they just arrested her, and it was like she was like shocked, because you could tell. I don't think she was from whatever culture that was. I forget if it was France or if it was the UK, but it was very refreshing to see.
I've seen a few protests and rallies in LA, but none that have been terribly disruptive. But I'm really itching to stumble upon one on my commute, like actively blocking me and preventing me from being able to clock in on time when I'm supposed to. I'm itching for a chance to like get the fuck out. I was especially like when you see them when they glue themselves to the road. It's like, dude, it must be so fucking satisfying to get out of your car and rip them off the pavement.
They should be it should be no. And some states do have this. Like Florida has this, and they should. And it's like, you just have to pass the laws that are going to be widely popular. Yeah. Like extremely popular. Probably like 80 to 90% of your electorate will support it. And just states like California won't do it. I'm sure states like I don't think we have it here in New Jersey either. Right. Luckily, knock on wood. New Jersey has been pretty spared of a lot of this shit. Right. The one protest I saw in the city was actually a pro-Israel one in Central Park, and it was pretty quiet. It was like they was kind of marching around with Israeli and American flags, but I haven't seen any. The worst shit I've seen was like just the like our neighborhood was the Upper West Side is very historically Jewish neighborhood, even still, and you would see the posters of hostages and stuff just like ripped apart, And I thought that like this kind of broke my heart because it's like, I mean, how I just don't get like this person is being held against their will for what? For dancing, right? And you're gonna rip them down. Like it just makes me sick.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I wish like you. I was like, I hope I see someone fucking do this.
Yeah,
like, I hope I see someone rip down a picture of children who are being held by Hamas. Like it would make my day.
So these privileged protesters, I think, are very emblematic of just how ridiculous modern leftism has become, where it's like, you know, how you pointed out to Thoreau, like suffering is part of the process of making a point. And even the civil rights movements of like the 1950s and 1960s, you know, and as terrible as it was that protesters back then, you know, it experienced this. It helped actually gain a lot of attention because you know when you saw like the news. Yeah, exactly. Because like when you saw like you know, more people had televisions in the 1960s, and so when these protests and rallies were televised, you saw peaceful protesters getting abused and harassed by the cops. Again, it's terrible, but at the same time, it's like that really woke America up.
People up in like New Jersey being like, wait, they're doing what down there?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like what? And they got on buses and went down.
Well, yeah. So when you saw like this nonviolent resistance, where it's like, oh, like these people, like they're you know, peacefully standing outside of a courthouse or something, and or in public square, and yet they're getting beaten by the police. But like the privileged class of modern progressivism. Where it's like, you know, I want to make my point and I want to disrupt things. I want to you know, start a revolution, but at the same time, please do not.
I hate it so much.
Kick me out of the university,
dude. It's like throughout the 70s. There's this book I want to read. It's called like Days of Rage. It's all about the left wing attacks during the 70s, and it's like, you know what that led to? The longest period of conservative politics in like American history, through the 80s into the 90s, and honestly, like. If it wasn't for Ross Perot, probably H.W. Bush would have won. And who knows after that? Like, I don't know if it's exact. I don't know if Ross Perot got people to vote who wouldn't have voted. Anyway, it's not sure, but he definitely didn't help H.W. Bush, who was an incumbent, I think fairly popular.
Yeah, but he did have that read my lips thing. That did kind of hurt him quite a bit.
No new taxes? Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was when he was running for the first time? And
I'm not sure though.
Yeah, he did raise taxes, right?
Yeah, he ended up.
And then he had the gaffes that today seem so like innocent, like he didn't know how to like pay for a carton of milk or something.
Yeah.
That was funny when it was like that reminded me of Dr. Oz when he called it like crudité instead of like raw vegetables, and I was like. So I tweeted that as like some very expensive GOP consultants were like, okay, we just have to make him relatable. It's like, it's like, God damn it.
The average American family is struggling to get on the private jets. It's like,
dude, just call it fucking carrots.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, last thing I wanted to say was, it's like people always argue, it's like, when the civil rights movement, like they marched in the streets, like, but they closed down the streets and like redirected. They didn't like pin people in their cars in Alabama. Like that's not what happened. And people accused me of like, oh, so you're siding with like the police were helping them. It's like, no. The police beat the shit out of them. I'm not saying that the police were good, but what the police did was everything was planned. They said, we're going to march from here to here. The police blocked off traffic, and then they beat the shit out of the protesters who then like it wasn't like people stuck for hours on a highway trying to get home or get to work or catch flights or get to children. Like they're completely different things.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like people just take certain aspects of the past that we do venerate today, like the civil rights movement, and they like don't look at it holistically, and they don't look at like, what else had to happen. It's just like, well, they were in the streets, so we're in the streets. It's like, no, there's a lot more to it than that.
Right.
And they've only lost, like all these groups have only lost support by doing these tactics. They don't fucking work.
Yeah, fuck these people, man.
Yeah, they suck. They're gonna be so mad. I'm glad that that has kind of died down. It was funny because someone was like, well, the good thing about these college protests is like the semester's just gonna end and everyone's gonna go home. Like that was, and it did happen. Anyway.
Yeah, right. I know. I mean, even if I strongly disagree with them, I would still be like, okay, even though school's over, you're still protesting. Like, all right,
well,
like
no, they're going to do their like internships that their parents get for them at Goldman Sachs or
just using it as an excuse to get out of class.
Yeah, their marketing internship, whatever. Like they're going to be, some organizations, some companies are like, we're not hiring these fuckers. Like, I don't blame them, because it's not just like, oh, well, it shouldn't be like, oh, we're not hiring them because they have an opinion that we disagree with. If they're like supporting terrorists, yeah, sure. But like, there are some people who are like, they're just supporting Palestine is wrong. It's like, no, you can say like, you don't want civilians to die.
Sure.
It's like, no, it's like these people will be a nuisance at my company, which hurts the bottom line. Right. At my nonprofit, that will then like cause issues because there'll be internecine fighting. Like, I don't want that shit going on. If they can't follow basic rules and decorum and that kind of stuff in college, like that, they're not going to grow out of it when I hire them out of college. Yeah, so like exactly. That I totally understand, because people have to pay to keep the lights on, pay to their employees, shipping, everything, cost of materials. Like, you don't want to deal with some unruly 22-year-old, 23-year-old who's gonna like cause issues at your shipping company or whatever it is,
because you have an office in a country that
exactly.
I think we talked about this. I think it was at Google or YouTube or Facebook headquarters, but they were or maybe even Apple, I don't know, some major tech company, but there was a group of employees who were protesting because they have an office in Israel, and so they
wants to shut down an entire office. I was like, fine, you don't get a bonus.
Exactly,
like, you don't get that. Like, all right.
But I was gonna say, like, they took over like an executive's office, and so there's video of the police coming up, going up to them, like, can you guys please leave? Like, asking very nicely, can you leave? Like, no, we're protesting, in Israel, Gaza, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, so then the police officers went and they started like just like thrashing them and handcuffing them. They started screaming. It's like, yeah, the police officer was nice. You had a chance to leave.
Like, where do they get this idea? You just get to take over someone's space. Like, that's not. It's really perverse. I don't know where they got this from, and it sucks. And I hope that they have a really bad time of it.
And they experienced the full dick of the law. So
yeah.
All right, everyone.
The long finger of the law. All right, stay reckless.
Let's fight the crits.